What is up, guys? Welcome back to Creative Readers, etc. I'm Lexi, and along with Maddie and Cassandra, this is the channel where we do creative things that sometimes involve reading, etc. Today's video is going to be super fun. I am making a tier list. It's different, as you can tell. I have a computer. I never do that. And we're just going to be ranking some books and some book series today because I want to, and I think it would be a fun video, and I've been obsessed with watching other videos such as this, so I figured why not create my own. I'm going to be featuring books that I have read and series that I have read at least part of, although a disclaimer, I have not read the complete series out of all of the books that I have. So I'm just going to be ranking them from what I know, from what I experience, and of course this is my own opinion. Whether you agree or not, let us know down in the comments. I'm very interested to see how your opinions reflect my own. Without further ado, let's just dive right in. So I have pulled up on my screen here, as you can see, both on the screen and as I'm holding up the computer, a list of books and a list of tiers. And we're going to be putting those books into the tiers, as would be implied by creating a tier list. And I'm just going to go down the list and talk a little bit about why I feel like each book should be in each tier. So first we have Truly Devious, which is, I believe, a trilogy by Maureen Johnson. And this is a mystery novel / series. And I have read the first book, but I really enjoyed the first book, and I plan on reading the rest of the series because it ended on a cliffhanger. It made me so mad. I think that this book belongs in good tier. It might move up to great tier eventually once I finish the series, but for now I'm putting it in good tier because there was bits and pieces of it that I didn't like. Specifically one of the characters, not the character himself, but like the way he interacted with the main character. I didn't like it. If you watched our book talk on Truly Devious, you'll know. Go watch our book talk on Truly Devious. Shameless self-plug up here. Go click on it, go watch it after this video. This video is going to be more fun probably. But for now I'm going to put it in good tier because it was a good book, and I'm going to pick up the rest of the series eventually, but it wasn't something that's like pressing at my soul that I need to finish it now. So, good tier. Alex and Eliza. Where to put Alex and Eliza? You know, I read the first book when it first came out. I didn't mind the first book. I liked the first book. Then the second book came out. I couldn't get more than like 2 pages in. I said, no, I'm not reading this. I think that I would have put it in at least good tier. Maybe, probably at most good tier. Had it been just a standalone book, but then they turned it into a trilogy, and I think it kind of ruined it. So I'm going to put this in bad tier because it would have been fine if I had just left it alone as a single book. Then she didn't. And it kind of ruined the whole series. And since if I was ranking these as individual books in the series, it would take a long video. It would be like 3 hours long, at least, probably. So I'm ranking the series as a whole. And the series as a whole is bad. Just the first book would have been fine, but the series as a whole is bad. Next up, we have The Brother Band Chronicles. Ooh. These are by John Flanagan. I love all of John Flanagan's writings, and I highly recommend them to anybody. If you want to check out a book that you have not read before, I would highly recommend any of John Flanagan's books. The Ranger's Apprentice series is, of course, my favorite, but the rest of his writings are so good. I haven't read the early years yet, but before I go off on a tangent, I'm going to rank the Brother Band Chronicles. And I'm going to put the Brother Band Chronicles in great tier, because I really love these books, but it always takes me about 50 or so pages to actually get into them. It's not because they're bad books, it's just they don't always click with me immediately. They're not something that I just can't put down once I started picking it up, like some other books that I've got on this list. But I do really enjoy them, and I could see myself rereading them in the future, and I highly recommend them to anyone. They're very good reads, they're very entertaining, very funny and lighthearted, and they're usually pretty quick if you just want something to pick up. Some of them are longer, but I'm putting it in great tier because they're great books. And now we have the Lost Hero series by Rick Riordan. It's the series that follows Percy Jackson and the Olympians. And I don't know why I just put that in God tier. I didn't even think. I just dragged it to the top of the list. I'm not putting that in God tier. I'm putting that in great tier because they were great books. I haven't read them for several years, but I do remember most of them because I read them more recently than I read the Percy Jackson books. And I'm putting it in great tier because I remember how much I loved them, but I remember loving other books more. They are sort of like an after series to Percy Jackson, but it's not, they don't always follow Percy Jackson. They follow a bunch of new characters in the Roman side of Greek mythology. Because if you've been living under a rock, Rick Riordan's books all follow some kind of mythology as far as his main series. He has another series called Arusha or something like that I haven't read. I don't know anything about. I don't know if they follow a mythology or not, but I might pick those up one day. I don't know. These books focus more on the Roman side of mythology than their Percy Jackson counterparts, which are, of course, the Greek side of mythology. And I really enjoyed them, just not as much as the Percy Jackson books. So I'm putting that in great tier because they're great. I love Rick Riordan. Next up, we have The Novice, called the Summoner series. And I don't know how many books are in the series. I think there's 3 and a prequel. But I'm not positive. I've read the first book and I want to read the rest of the series because I really, really, really enjoyed the first book. But since I haven't read the rest of the series, I don't feel comfortable putting it in great tier. Because to be honest, I don't remember much of what happened in the first book. I think that this belongs in good tier. Because I remember enjoying the book, but I don't remember much of anything that happened. I can't even tell you the main character's name. What was his name? Fletcher. His name was Fletcher. It was a good book, and I want to read the rest of the series eventually, just it's not at the top of my TBR. Now we have Sorcery of Thorns. This is not a series. This is a standalone book. The first one we've got. Whoa. And I wish it were a series because I loved this book so much. Silas was great. Elizabeth was great. They were all great, and I really loved this book. It was one of the books that I could pick up and just read for hours and hours without even realizing that I'm reading. And I love books like that so much. Compared to some of the other books on this list, I didn't love it as much, but I did really, really love this book. And I hope that she writes another one with the same characters at least. It doesn't even have to be the same series. It just, I want more of these characters. I love it. So for now, I'm going to put this in God tier, but I might move it down later compared to some of the other books that I have on this list. But for now, I'm putting in God tier because I recommend this book to anyone. I love it. It's good for a lot of different audiences, and A+ to Margaret Rogerson. Wow, that's kind of a tongue twister. Margaret Rogerson. Try saying that 5 times fast. Next up on the list, we have the Kane Chronicle series, starting with the Red Pyramid. I don't have the whole series up here. I don't remember how many books were in this series, but I have 2 of them. I think there was 3 or 4. I don't remember, to be honest. I read these so long ago, and I loved them. I loved Bast. I loved Sadie and Kane, and they were very, very, very good books. And again, I would highly recommend them to anyone because Rick Riordan is just kind of a writing genius. However, I remember more about the other series by him than I do about this one. I remember the characters' names, some of them, and I remember bits and pieces of the plot. Like, spoiler alert, I remember Sadie and Anubis had a fling, but I don't remember the important stuff. And that might just be because it was so long ago. I don't know. But I want to put this in good tier because it doesn't stand up to the Percy Jackson and the Olympians. No, that's not the series. The Heroes of Olympus. That's what the series is called. It doesn't stand up against that one or Brother Band. So I'm putting it in good tier because they were good books. But I'm not sure they were great books. But I would highly recommend them. Anyway, our next book that we have is... Sorry, I'm scratching my nose a lot. My allergies are going crazy. Darius the Great is not okay. Instant God tier. I'm not moving that. It's staying right there. Nothing. Oh no. Instant God tier. This book was possibly one of my favorite books of 2019. I would recommend this book to literally everybody. I love it so much. I'm sorry if I butcher this, but good job to Adib Khorram, or however you pronounce his name, the author of this book. It is a standalone book right now. However, there is a second one coming out in September. Because I'm so excited, I'm going to buy it instantly, take all of my money. I would recommend this book to anybody. Everything about it is chef's kiss. Perfect. I love this book, and I want to keep it in God tier because that's where it belongs. It was such a good book, and I met the author at a book convention. So nice, so sweet, great man. He signed my book. I love it. Read this book. Read it. You don't have an option. Read this book. Now we have King of Scars. Ooh. As of right now, King of Scars is a standalone book. However, I believe Leigh Bardugo, the author, has said that she has plans to make it into a duology. I think it's a duology. She might have said a trilogy. I'm not sure, but one of the two. I read this book and it was a good book. I enjoyed it. But I was confused on half of the stuff going on because I have not read the Shadow and Bone trilogy. I've heard it's mediocre compared to Six of Crows, but I mean, what isn't mediocre compared to Six of Crows? Darius the Great is not okay. But I'm going to put this in okay tier because not understanding half of the stuff is maybe a fault of my own for not having read the series first. But I mean, I was able to pick up on enough to understand the plot, but still, I mean, because compared to like Six of Crows, which is set in the same universe with some of the same characters, I didn't have to read them to understand anything that was going on. I was a bit confused the first time I read it about what a Grisha was and all of that kind of stuff, but it was still comprehensible. This book was comprehensible, but not in such a way that didn't make me have to remember that I was reading a book, if that makes sense. With Six of Crows, I was able to just be sucked into the universe and enjoy reading a book without realizing that I'm reading a book because I felt so enthralled in the book, in the universe. But with this one, I kind of always knew that I was reading and I kind of always wanted to go do something else. I did enjoy it-ish, but I'm just gonna leave it in okay tier because I think it was just an okay book. The cover is gorgeous though. Like, props to Leigh on the cover. Oh, I love the cover of that book. Now we have Two Can Keep a Secret. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not sure if this one is a series or not. I know there's other books set in the same universe. It has a prequel, I want to say, but I'm not certain that it is an actual series. I know the author has written other books along the same vein, at least. I haven't read them and I don't know anything about them. So I'm putting this in good tier because I think it was a good book. We read it in book club my freshman year in high school, and I enjoyed it. It was the first mystery novel that I had read in a while, maybe ever, I don't know, and it was a very good book. I think Truly Devious was better as far as mystery novels go, but that might just be because I too am a crime enthusiast. With that, I think I'm going to move Truly Devious up to great tier, because I think Truly Devious is better than Two Can Keep a Secret. I'm not bashing Two Can Keep a Secret. I think it was a really good book. I really enjoyed it, and I'd recommend it to anyone looking for a good YA mystery novel. But I'd recommend Truly Devious first. Now we have the Harry Potter series. I think we all know where this one goes. I'm just kidding. We all know where this one goes. It goes in God tier because classic childhood memories, Draco Malfoy, perfection, chef's kiss. Now, I will say that some people have said that the series has been overdone. People have been doing too much with it, with all of the new Fantastic Beasts stuff and all of the new books coming out about it, and all of this other mumbo jumbo, and especially what J.K. Rowling is doing, rolling, whatever, however you want to say it, with the way she's trying to include diversity in a way that's not diverse at all. That a lot of people would argue that kind of degrades the value of the books, but in my opinion, I don't think it does, because I think the books in the hearts of fans will always be the childhood legacy that they were. And I don't think that J.K. Rowling's ramblings on Twitter and all of this other nonsense going on really has an impact on what the series is in and of itself. Because in and of itself, the Harry Potter series is a classic, timeless. Hopefully my children will read it and their grandchildren will read it, and it'll just be one of those things like Lord of the Rings. I know Lord of the Rings isn't that old, but still. I am putting Harry Potter in God tier because I think it will always be a God tier series. Next up, we have the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series. Whoa, I'm putting this one in God tier as well. I know. I have more books in God tier than anything else. But I really love these books, and I'm currently in the middle of rereading them. I'm in the middle of rereading the Harry Potter series too, but I am also rereading the Percy Jackson series now because I just picked up the entire thing. They're glorious, they're beautiful, and I'm so excited to reread them because Rick Riordan's writings were what made me fall in love with books. I read the Percy Jackson series before I read the Harry Potter series, fun fact, and it just made me fall in love with reading, and I never wanted to put a single of these books down, and I still don't. I'm not that far in. I'm only on The Lightning Thief, and I'm only about 30 pages in because I haven't had that much time to read it. And I'm also still trying to complete my Owls, but I'm almost done with that, and then speed read the Percy Jackson books because they're amazing. And if you haven't read them, you didn't have a childhood, and you should read them now. And now we have Six of Crows. The duology, it's beautiful, it's glorious. That's what I'm currently reading along with The Lightning Thief. I am putting this in God tier because I love these books. Along with Darius the Great is not okay. I think the Six of Crows duology is probably my favorite reads of 2019. I think I read Six of Crows in 2018, but it's still one of my favorite reads of 2019. And I'm currently rereading it now because I just picked up the collector's edition, and the collector's edition of Crooked Kingdom is on its way, because I'm so in love with these books. And also look how gorgeous this is. Like, yes. They're god tier books. Read them if you have not. They're so amazing. Kaz is amazing. Kaz is up there with Draco in my book crushes, okay? Like, if you want to go back and watch our first video, please do not. But I should have also said Kaz because, oh my god, I love them. I love them. Like, look at this. Look at this boy. He is the best boy. I love him. Please read these books if you have not. They are so good. You will not regret it. Next up in our tier list, we have A Study in Charlotte, also known as the Charlotte Holmes series. There's 4 books in the series. They are right here. I don't know if you can see my hand, but they're right here. I have recently acquired the entire series for that as well. And I have read all of them. I don't know where to put these. I thoroughly enjoyed the first 3 books, and I think I would have put it in great tier if it had only been the first 3 books. Now the 3rd book it does kind of leave you with sort of a cliffhanger-ish type thing, and I think that a 4th book was due to kind of tie it all up in a pretty little bow. However, I really don't like the 4th book at all. I think the 4th book kind of ruined the entire thing. A lot of people will probably disagree with me on that, but I just didn't like it. I mean, it was okay up until the end, and then it just kind of ruined it. And the author is very sweet. I've also met the author of these books. I'm gonna put them in okay tier. And that hurts my soul because I really, really loved the first 3 books. But then the last book just kind of ruined the entire series. And I would probably reread the first 3 books just by themselves, and I would definitely recommend them to other people because they might disagree with me on the ending of the last book anyway. But for me, just kind of the way it ended made the entire thing pointless. And so I'm gonna have to put them in okay tier because it just kind of made it an okay series. And I do eventually want to reread at least the first 3 books, and maybe I'd like the second book or the last book more if I reread it again. But I just can't bring myself to put them in good tier with the way it ended. Speaking of good tier, next up we have Rainbow Rowell and Carry On. Rainbow Rowell's the author. I don't know why I said her name first. Probably because it's right there and it's big letters and I can't see the actual title of the book, but it's Carry On. And I want to put this in good tier because contrary to my friend's beliefs, I liked this book. I didn't necessarily always enjoy the style it was written in, but I think the author had some very good things going, and Carry On is a duology. I also have it right here. And I really, really love this second book. I know she's working on a 3rd one, and it will become a trilogy. I'm not sure if she's going to write any more after that. I hope she does because I love these characters. The characters are so lovable to me. Like, I don't know. I love the way that it's done. I don't necessarily love the entire writing style, and that's why it's in good tier because it feels kind of simple and not necessarily the easiest to get into, but I'm putting it in good tier because of the plot and the characters. It's borderline great tier for me, but it's not necessarily great tier. It's not up there with Truly Devious and all of the other books that are up there, but I love it. I would recommend it to some people, maybe not everybody. Depends on your taste. It's kind of, I don't want to say it's Harry Potter-ish, but I know it's very loosely based off of Harry Potter. And I'm putting it in good tier because I think they're good books. And now we have Caraval. I believe it's a trilogy. And I've read the first 2 books. I have read Caraval and Legendary. And I want to put these in great tier because I think they were great books. Yeah, because the last one's called Finale, yes. I have read Caraval and Legendary, the first 2 books, and I love this series. I would recommend it to most people. They aren't necessarily as good as Six of Crows or Darius the Great or any of the books that I have in God tier, but they were entertaining reads, and they just took me like a little while to get into. But once I did, I wanted to keep reading, and I like that there's romance in it, but it's not the focal point of the book, if that makes sense. And they're just entertaining reads, and I'm putting them in great tier. So now we have the Throne of Glass series. I'm putting these in great tier too. I love the Throne of Glass series. I have read it twice. As you might know, I did a reading vlog because over the break I reread the entire Throne of Glass series, minus Tower of Dawn because I don't own that one, but sue me. And you can go check that out right here if you would like to. I love this series. This series was kind of something to get me out of a reading slump the first time I read them. I saw Throne of Glass in a bookstore not knowing anything about it, and I said, this looks interesting, so I picked it up and then I read it in one day because I loved it so much. And I knew it was a series, I think I knew it was a series, but I didn't pick up the second book until about 2 years later. And then I fell in love with the series, and then I didn't read it for a little while because I had better things to read, and I wasn't a fan of rereading books at the time. Rereading books still isn't my favorite thing, but there's just so many books that I read so long ago that I've forgotten what happened, that since we have a lot of time now, thanks you know who, yeah, I've been rereading some books that I've forgotten, like the Percy Jacksons and the Harry Potters, and I'm enjoying it. They're good reads. So I'm putting this in great tier. The second time I read it, I didn't quite enjoy it as much, but I still loved it. It's still very entertaining, and I give it a 9.5 out of 10. So now we have The Cruel Prince. This is going in bad tier. This was a bad book. I only have the first one. I know, however, that the series is a trilogy, I think. And I don't like it. I've only read the first book, and I think that is all I'm going to read. It was not good. The plot itself was acceptable, but the way it was written felt so cliche, and it just made me not want to read it. I don't know what exactly it is about the way it was written, but it just made me not like it. It was very hard to finish, and I didn't want to finish it, but I had to for my owls. And I will say I've tried to read this book twice now, and the first time I didn't finish it. The second time I did for the owls. I hated it less when I actually finished the book, but I still didn't thoroughly enjoy it at all. And I think, as I said, the plot is okay. If it had been written by a different author, if this plot had been written by Leigh Bardugo, I would have died for this book. But it wasn't. It was written by Holly Black, and I'm sure she's a wonderful author. However, this just ain't it. So I'm putting it in bad tier. And now, of course, we have the Ranger's Apprentice series. I'm putting this in God tier because these are amazing books, also by John Flanagan. I have read all of them, but I only have 5 of them. I only have 5 of them. There is 10 in the actual series, and then there's 2 other books at the end of the series that are kind of along the same vein. They follow the same characters and they're technically a part of the Ranger's Apprentice series, but they're kind of like side books, if that makes sense, but they're still really good. And this series is amazing. And if you love medieval things, or if you love entertaining books at all, you should read these books because they are amazing. Chef's kiss, once again. Cherry on top of the cake. Is that how that saying goes? I think that's how that saying goes. I don't know my own language. And you should read them. You should read all of John Flanagan's books. You should support John Flanagan. Please read his books. They are very good. And you will love them, I promise. Finally, we have the Raven Cycle series. I think there's 4 books in this series, maybe 5. I'm not sure. I've read the first one, and I literally am dying to read the others, but I'm too poor to buy them because I've been buying the Six of Crows Crooked Kingdom Collector's editions. But I want to read the rest of the series so bad. I loved the first book very much. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I would recommend it to most people. If you have a sensitivity to sort of more vulgar language, then I wouldn't recommend it to you because some of the characters are speaking in a way that might offend some people. But the book itself is very entertaining. I really loved the characters. I loved Noah and Adam, my babies. They're amazing. And I'm putting this in great tier. I might put it in God tier if I had finished the series, but I have not, so I'm putting it in great tier for now, but I would recommend them to very many people. Was that proper grammar? I'm not certain. However, I would recommend them to most everyone. And with that, this concludes our tier list of books. And with that, this concludes our bookish tier list 2020. Maybe the only one, I don't know. But it's 2020, so I'm putting that at the end. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let us know down in the comments whether you agreed with my opinions or not. And if you did enjoy this video, you can leave a like, comment, and subscribe for more creative, bookish, and etc. content. You can keep up with all of our shenanigans on our Instagram, our Twitter, and our Facebook, which will be linked down below. And once again, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're all staying safe and healthy during these times. And I will see you in the next video. Bye!